Professor Swaran Singh joining us. He's a well-known foreign affairs expert. Good evening to you, Professor. Now, the big question, of course, has this decision by Joe Biden to step away from the contest handed Donald Trump the presidency, the 47th presidency of the United States, or can the Democrats still put up a credible fight?
Thank you for having me on your program. I think this was long anticipated that Joe Biden might step aside. Now, his stepping aside, your question is it going to make life easier for Donald Trump to come back to White House? I will think other way around. I think it's going to now create a certain rattle in the Republican campaign committee now. Because all the campaign so far was very clearly focused on President Biden. And more often now we were seeing Biden being caricatured by Donald Trump, which means they have drifted away from issues and it was only focused on one man who is no longer in scene now. Second, if you notice your own report just mentioned several leaders have already endorsed Kamala Harris's nomination. In fact, many of the contenders who potentially could have been competing with Kamala Harris have also begun to endorse her candidature. I am told, I was reading actually, that in first 5 hours of that comment of President Joe Biden about endorsing and providing full support to Kamala Harris, she received $27.5 million of small donors' contributions. That means there is a certain enthusiasm now in Democratic Party, which will and is already showing a certain amount of unity on that subject. And there is a certain enthusiasm among people as well that the contest is becoming a little more interesting. And very quick last point, the whole debate from the Republican Party was about the age and mental fitness of candidate Joe Biden, President Joe Biden. Now it looks like that Donald Trump is becoming the oldest contesting nominee now, 78-year-old.
Yes.
And he is the one who's could be the one who would be asked questions about his age. And now have a younger potential candidate. I think Kamala Harris has a strong chance to become a candidate. And he's already been
as you're speaking, Professor Swaran Singh, we're running pictures of Hillary Clinton with Bill on the screen, and America has never made a woman president, but Hillary was the one who came the closest. She won the popular vote, but didn't have the delegates in her favor, which is why you had Trump becoming president for that term that he had, the 45th president of the U.S. Do you think Kamala Harris can really make history if she does become the Democratic nominee?
And there is no doubt if she becomes Democratic Party nominee on 19th of August, she will be the first black and we must also say first South Asian woman to be a nominee. And there is definitely a certain amount of enthusiasm now that this whole lingering debate about whether President Joe Biden will step aside is now over. Now there is a new candidate and she has performed very well in her campaign so far. She has taken very often focus on issues rather than individuals. And I think that is the drift, that is the change in campaign that we will now notice, that perhaps candidates will have to now debate on what issues they stand for and what they plan to offer in case they come to the White House. And that fundamentally means the whole recalibration of a Republican Party campaign now. And of course, we will have to see how Democratic Party works together. There are senior leaders who have not openly as yet endorsed Kamala Harris, but definitely a new enthusiasm. I think that is definitely new. In fact, at international level also we are hearing comments from German Chancellor Kohl, we are hearing comments from even Moscow. So there is a certain new enthusiasm that there is a new candidate who is younger candidate and a woman candidate for the first time.
Yes.
And you will have many voters who thought they missed a chance to see Hillary Clinton becoming the president. Those voters would also be clearly much more active now, much more enthusiastic now. So definitely little more interest now in election of United States presidency than how it was appearing to be becoming dull and boring over a period of time. More often known for caricaturing rather than serious debate on subjects.
All right. Now, she's been picking up a lot of endorsements. Michigan Governor Whitmer has become the latest governor to endorse her, saying that he'll co-chair her campaign as well. But as far as some of the key figures of the Democratic Party are concerned, like Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama, they haven't endorsed her, and there's a lot of speculation, especially related to Barack Obama because he's married to Michelle Obama. Do you think that there is any ground for speculation in that direction?
I think speculation very often in such cases will be how senior leaders wants to emphasize or influence what will be her vice presidential choice in case she becomes the nominee on August 19th. And apparently, there is no doubt that Michelle Obama is a very powerful candidate, but having two women, I suppose, will be a little strange thing to have for president and vice president. But I think senior leaders are keeping caution and waiting to see if they can anyway influence Kamala
No, I'm not
Harris.
talking about running mate. I'm talking about a contest. I'm talking about somebody who can give Kamala Harris a run for money to become the Democratic Party's candidate.
Okay, at this stage, I think if you look at last 24 hours, there is no other candidate yet in sight. There could be, of course, other candidates now because it's open now for other candidates to also try to obtain nomination because normally when the sitting president wants to be a candidate, then usually parties do not put up other candidates for competition. But now it's open. Even if President Joe Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris, there could be a possibility, but first 24 hours we are not seeing any clear contestation on that. So therefore, I think when senior leaders are voting, I am more inclined to believe that they are trying to influence her making a choice about her, vice presidential candidate. And as yet, I don't see likelihood of any of the senior leaders endorsing any other leader against Kamala Harris because that will be again reflecting that internal, dissensions within the party are still strong, and that will make this party look like very weak. And I think they will be very careful of that.
Okay.
And they will not possibly endorse other candidates. I think they will try to see who becomes the vice president.
Well, Donald Trump, you mentioned, is going to be the oldest one in the race now, and he's picked up a vice presidential candidate who's 39 years old from the Rust Belt. So Kamala Harris too will have to choose very wisely if she does become the candidate and perhaps go for somebody from the swing states itself. But as you see, we still have a lot to talk about, but very little time. I'll thank you at this point, Professor Swaran Singh, but I'm sure this will be taken up again very soon right here between you and me. Thank you. Now you